Thanks for staying with us. On Saturday, the late Herbert Wigwe, his wife, Chizoba Wigwe, and his son, Chizi, were laid to rest in his hometown, Isiokpo, in Rivers State. The event was well attended with people from all walks of life. However, what got talking of that event was the words, the war of words between the former governor of the state, Rivers State, who is now the number 3 man of the Federation, Senator Godswill Akpabio, and the current governor of the state, Governor Fubara, at the event. The event was one of those events where everybody who was anybody in the corporate world, even in politics, were all there in attendance. And on that day, both men thought it was important for them to trade political jabs with each other. Watch this clip, just in case you haven't seen it. Okay, so there are 2 parts of that story. Unfortunately, we didn't get the full comments of Governor Fubara because actually, for those who attended, said that he was speaking on the point of empathy. What he was trying to say is that, listen, what are we looking for? What is this struggle? So he had set a premise before he made that statement, trying to refer to the fact that we should, as politicians, we also must remember that everything ends here. Yeah.
He also made a comparison between the late Wigwe and the politician. He said Wigwe made his money clearly not from politics and touched more lives than some politician would. Just, I think he was in the right course.
Yes, he was. However, in response to that, the Senate president thought it was throwing a political jab at him and responded. Worse still, people laughed whilst you're having 3 corpses in your presence, and people were thinking that was quite insensitive. Crass insensitivity.
So
now,
for me,
let me come to you.
The person that could not recognize the 3 corpses in front of him was the Senate president, who did not know decorum, timing, and how to talk. The people who laughed, comic relief. They are grieving. Everybody's tension. Yeah. So somebody decided to become a comedian. It's good.
We'll laugh. Yeah.
They do it in what's it? Tragedy, literature.
Yes.
So
tragic comedy.
Tension. So it's a tragic situation. They had lost 3 members of one family. Both parents alive, witnessing that, and so children is allowed. But the Senate president said not politics, and then talked politics at a person's burial. Petty for me, very, very below standard. I think from now, the Senate president should just learn to be mom a lot of times.
Yeah. What a lot of people kept saying, it was a back and forth. I don't know, one thing that irks me is when somebody uses back and forth with me. Like, oh, I'm not doing this back and forth, especially when I just did back. You did forth. You forth my back. That the governor of Rivers State did not do back and forth. He just came out. He read his speech, and you could see the message of that speech was this vanity upon vanity, with all these things that we're doing, with all these things we're chasing, especially in politics, where it has almost become a do-or-die affair. To what end, And for me, I think it was clear. To everyone who's an adult, you would normally hear that sort of message, especially at funerals, to say that everything that we're fighting for today, there will be a time that you can't take it anywhere. And so it's supposed to help us reflect on how we do things, knowing that we cannot take it beyond, life. And there's a life after death. So who are you? What sort of person are you in, right now? And what sort of person how would you like to meet your maker? That was what that message was about. Our Senate president, however, thought it was a political jab at him. And I remember the saying also, they say, the guiltiest runneth when no one chaseth. So for whatever reason, he felt that was to him. But then remember the priest or the pastor for the event. I think that man is just a fabulous pastor. And he, without directly pointing a finger at our Senate president, made him look small. Showed the pettiness of what our Senate president did when he said, please, could we give a round of applause to what our governor said? Because everyone else, every adult there understood that this was the essence of the message. It was not about politics. There are different places for things like that. You can go and give each other jabs here and there. And I find this attitude, it's become quite widespread. it's, you know, very symptomatic of a lot of things that's happening, you know, in our country. Funerals are happening. We don't have this attitude of being mournful, you know, of mourning, of being reflective. Yeah. It's a party season. It's an opportunity to take pictures, you know, nothing to do with those who have passed on and how we should look at our lives for those of us who have been left behind.
I'll come to that because that's an important point you raised. But let me go, what are your initial thoughts on this video?
So I saw the video and I was laughing because, you know, when you get to a place like that and people are talking, people will talk based off of what they have seen, the lessons they have gleaned from what has happened. And that was basically Fubara's message. This is a lesson to us all. Whatever it is that we are fighting for, we are plotting for, we are struggling for, there is no need. At the end of the day, it's still vanity. You know, but like the saying goes, old women feel uneasy when dry bones are mentioned. The Senate, you know, president decided that, okay, this old bone now, I think I have the old bone. I think I'm the old bone. And he decided to react. And that also casts my mind back to, you know, working on ourselves when the world isn't watching, so that when we stand on the stage, we do not mess up ourselves. There's something that has been happening to me of late. I've been deliberately choosing not to respond negatively to situations, not to react, that's the word, react negatively to situations. So people will come on my page and insult me, and I'll read it, I'll laugh, and I'll move on. And that's not the Obiajulo of before. Obiajulo of before is as you are giving to me, I'm giving to you. But you continue like that for a very long time, it becomes a habit. Now, when you get to a place where you are supposed to match the brakes, because this has become a habit you are used to, you cannot match the brakes, and you end up being embarrassing yourself. And that's exactly what has happened. Not everything should be reacted to. He could have just done his own speech without going to give us the history of what happened and all of that, and moved on. And people will not even relate anything to him. But him now explaining and, you know, giving back now brought people to say, okay, so you were guilty, or you think they were talking about you. And that can open another can of worms.
Isn't that the problem we have with most of our politicians? Anything anybody says is about them. They take it so personal.
Yeah.
Every single thing. They can't take criticism well because
it's a character flaw.
Personal.
Yeah.
So and that's part of the problems politicians have. They don't know how to handle feedback from people. They don't, you hear somewhere and automatically it's an attack. Usually as my job as a moderator.
We faced it here now.
Yeah, we face it here all the time. You know, my job as a moderator is really to see all the sides. And I'm struggling really to see his point of view because I'm trying to see, okay, if I were Senate President and I see Fubara here saying something, would I use the opportunity, especially when you don't read the room? You are at a funeral of young people. Yeah. These are young people. They're not just, I mean, just young, if it's old people, they're parties.
Yes, that point, that can be in support of the Senate President.
Okay,
so in the South, we celebrate the death of old people. If you like, be closer to your grandpa at 100 plus. If he died, they will tell you killed him so you can do party, because you will do party.
Okay.
You know, so they
doesn't matter.
You don't chop them.
So they jab and joke with such a burial.
Okay.
But the room at this time is, as you said, young people.
Young people. These are young
whole
people.
family.
The whole family. And you see children here mourning their parents. And you have the audacity to spew such.
Yes, so Morayo,
that's... tact.
Yes, so that brings us back to emotional intelligence as well. So a lot of us find our way into positions that we are not properly prepped and prepared for. And nobody will prep you. It's something you will decide by yourself that I'm going somewhere, how do I want to show up every day that I get there? How do I want to show up every day in my home? How do I want to show up every day with my colleagues? How do I want to show up every day in my workplace? It's something that we are deliberate about. And when you get to a certain age, it becomes difficult to unlearn a lot of habits. And that's why we have to be looking at ourselves, the younger people, our children, people around us, so that they can begin to build on these good habits. It's not when you get to 50-something that we're going to be teaching you emotional intelligence. You should understand, read the room and know, okay, this is not the appropriate place for this. We go for trainings over and over here, and we have a topic. Maybe they give us a topic. You get there, and you realize that, this topic will not make sense to these people.
You change.
And you change. just to be able to reach, because you can read the room, you can test the energy there, and you give them what is appropriate. So even if somebody throws a jab at you and you read the room, this is not the place. I can meet him in his office and sort it out later. This is not the place for it. But because for how many years of your life you've not been able to self-regulate and hold yourself back? It's difficult.
I've also said it several times on this table, because our politicians forget that they also need PR people, like proper PR. Because I watch a lot of political shows, political drama series. And I know if I can sit down, I love them. For every time you step out, there's a plan. You don't just step out for the sake. You're going to a funeral, what you say, how you say, what you wear, the colors you put on, how you stand, how you look at, who you respond to. Everything is planned and orchestrated. And there are people who do this. So politicians need to begin to start reconsidering that you are just not you're not just a leader, you're a public figure. That every time you step out, there's got to be a plan for you, because nobody directed this man. What he said, he just spoke out of voice. You can't speak from the heart.
You should be able to separate your past from where you are presently. So we know the drama between Fubara and the side that the Senate president most likely will take in this that is happening with the FCT minister. But even if it was at a birthday party for a newborn or a naming ceremony, is that a place and time to jab at the governor? You can also decide that whatever the governor might have intended is not of your concern. You are bigger than it, because you are. You are the Senate president, the third man, Abi. Yes. So you will come to an event, because even after he made that speech, he went around shaking hands. So I'm the Senate, you know, people will come and hobnob, hypocrites and all of that. They'll come and do psychopathy for him and hobnob around him and do all of those things. So you know, but you can say, not this time. It's not now.
Not this place.
You know, you carry yourself in such a way that I came here for serious business.
Something else.
I am also mourning this person because I know the person. I don't believe he would have attended if he didn't even know the person. But you don't attend such a burial and joke. I have gone to burials that even I was forced to laugh with the person whose mother died because the way they were all joking. In fact, a friend of mine lost her brother, very young guy, when we were back in school. I was in 100 level that year. She was already in 300 level. And she was in so much grief that when I visited, I decided not to join in the grief. I decided to become her comedian. I started to joke. Is that your brother that used to wear shorts the other day? Wow. So she kept laughing and laughing, and she said, there's a twist to your visit. But it is focused on the person who is bereaved, not focused on yourself. This kind of...
let's jump in.
Yes, I was going to say that, you know, there are a lot of things that I started saying earlier that we do as a society, or we have started doing as a society, that we need to check ourselves. And, you know, I'm questioning where the problem is. Is it a question with our, I'm questioning, is it our education? Is it, you know, what has changed? Because we are people that our adults, the elders, have always led, you know, behavior. We learn from the kind of education we have is that we learn from our elders how they behave, how they carry themselves in places. If you say, there are some things you would say, somebody would say, sure, it's because it's a child. It's childishness that is worrying the person. But then when you now see our elders now doing the same, what has happened to these particular elders? Was there a point that they stopped learning? You know, and when you look at Oyibo people, for them, the way you can tell how someone, the way you can differentiate from someone that is well-behaved and one who isn't, is the sort of education that they get. So if you get education, that means they would have taught you how to speak, how to carry yourself, what you say, you know, how to comport yourself generally. But here, we all go to school. We're all rushing to go to university and things like that. And somehow, the education is not reflecting in the way we carry ourselves. Our Senate president definitely has been to school, several, I'm sure. But isn't there a way that you're taught how to carry yourself? It just shows. Americans, they would say, you know, there are some things that they insist upon, or there's some things that help you when you're running for office, either the school that you went and the kind of family that you come from. And it's not just about money. It shows that you have a grooming, you know, that says you are able to carry yourself in such a decent way. We look at the royal family, you know, things like that. Even here in Nigeria, there are some people, because of their names and the family that they come from, there's a way they carry themselves. So to have our own Senate president act the way that he acted, it shows there's a lack of home training, shows a lack of you know, like education isn't there, you know, different things. And for me, I'm not talking of Senate President. I'm using him as an example for a lot of people. Yeah. There are many things that happened towards this particular funeral that we were questioning. Yeah. I mean, look at the church you were talking about. There was a whole party that was thrown. People were dancing left and right of a person that is from your church. It was, for me, it was so cringy. I could not believe that, you know. I expected that church would rally around this family at this time and show that they too have lost someone. A church especially, that is your son that you have lost. So if we do that in church, what do we expect of politicians? So there is a problem in Nigeria, really.
I think I can go on a break with that because that's worth digesting and sipping through. We need to really understand what you just break down what you just said because it's not just a politician's problem. It's all of us. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We're still talking about what happened at the funeral of Herbert Wigwe and his wife and son, where Senate President and the Governor of Rivers State were exchanging jabs. You can call us on the numbers on your screen to join the conversation: 081-0764-1679, 090-241-63440, or you can tweet to us at TVC Connect using the hashtag #YourViewOnTVC. You can also watch us on YouTube, TVC Entertainment, and send your comments there too. We'll be happy to read them. Nima, you're going to say something because Mariam was speaking earlier that it's all of us. It's not just the politicians.
I was looking for the link so I can properly quote it. So there was a church service in Rivers State for the late Wigwe and his family. And the MC had introduced Peter Obi. He was made to reintroduce him because the applause and the welcome was not
high enough. The audience insisted.
Yes. So he did that. So it's just as Miriam had alluded earlier, it's a Nigerian thing. It's like our head no they correct for many certain circumstances. You are mourning. The three corpses, the three coffins there from front of you. What else do you need as a sign to be sober? We had to focus on all our past from 2023 elections. We carried that one into this. Senate President Tukuku did not even know how to lead. He came and worsened the situation. And everybody just kept being selfish and self-centered in their speeches and address to this issue. I felt, you know, a lot of people referring to how they were instrumental or how Wigwe was instrumental to them was a bit somehow. But this one is the lowest of it. This one is really, really upsetting.
According to Atero Peter's side too, he was saying that that the Senate President was also complaining that Peter Obi got more of arousing applause compared to him. So I didn't see that, but based on what Atero Peter's side tweeted, he also said that the whole thing was quite distasteful. And he was quite disappointed in what the Senate President. As I said, I'm trying really hard to see all the angles, but it's so difficult to see.
This happened Morayo, this happened in church. Christians, let's talk to ourselves. Let's just sit down and talk to ourselves. Who is our standard? What is our standard? Who are we looking up to? Who are we copying? Who are we acting like? Because we have shown, no. This is terrible. This whole conversation we're also talking about happened in church. I promise you, it will not happen in a mosque. I promise you. When Muslims sit down to honor their dead, they don't involve themselves in this kind of back and forth and talking. There's a place for everything. Yes, we like to praise and worship God, but even He recognizes that there's a time. You know, the Bible says something here, Ecclesiastes. Sorry, I'm taking your role today.
I don't understand.
Bible. Yeah. But you know, Ecclesiastes 7:2, it's better to go to a house of mourning than to go to a house of feasting. So I'm using this again to refer to the party that happened in his own church. So, you know, I sat down with a couple of Christians, some of who were pastors, and they were trying to explain this thing to me in different ways. And I just could not understand how the Bible has now become a book that nobody understands anymore. It doesn't mean anything. It depends on
different things.
It depends on the day, who you know, who you are friends with, who, you know, what side of the bed you wake up on. It's so wrong. Apart from the religious side, as a people, let's figure out how we want to carry ourselves when we are at funerals. Yeah. Let's teach ourselves. You know, usually we call out young people for bad behavior, but now I understand that everything we complain about our young people is because the elders, even the church thing, we're 60s plus. People are in your 60s and above, and you're acting this way. Heavens. No, I'm disappointed in us. As Christians, I'm disappointed in us.
Then I think we have also moved away from focusing on being good human beings to being attached to our labels and our identity. Identity meaning the caps that we wear. So you are a politician, you are a medical doctor, you are a chief, you are this. And when people do not recognize you with those labels that you wear, you feel it's a direct attack to who you are. But that's not who you are. It's a label that you wear. And if you come into a place and people do not recognize you, go and sit down quietly. Even the scripture said it. Sit there, let them now say, okay, where are you? Or come to the front. We have kept your space in the front. But this insisting on you must see me, you must recognize me, you must call me all my titles is a problem that we have deviated from focusing on being good to. And that's why we fight and kill and do whatever it is to keep us at those levels, because that is all we think about. And as a result of that, we have lost respect in who we are as human beings. And when you don't respect yourself, you will not respect your environment, you will not respect the people around you, you will not respect the dead, you will not respect anybody, because it's all about me, selfishness.
Let me take this call from Isiaka. It's calling from Auchi. Thanks for calling. You're live.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
Hello.
The Senate President, you know him, and he's occupying a very important position. Now, this there's what we call a baba in Isako. You should just stop it and be focused. There's a place when you are mourning, you focus and you think about your life. Am I going to end this way? When am I going to end? This is what mourning is all about. It's not about talking and talking and talking. Good morning. I really love your program. Thank you very much.
Right. So if the Senate President thought it was important to respond to Fubara, it's possible that there's a way he could have done it in a subtle way, not this obvious. Because, I mean, he was just trying to say, listen, I'm trying really hard.
You're trying really hard. That was not the place.
Let me try to rephrase my thoughts. I'm saying that as a Senate President, this is a governor, and you feel that, okay, he threw a jab at you. There could have been a better way to respond to him in a subtle way that is not obviously obvious that you're trying to throw a jab at him. Maybe he was just trying to send a message that listen.
You know how when we're growing up, there are some things we used to hear this. The best answer to a fool is silence.
Silence is golden.
So if you feel the person is being foolish, give the person silence. It's not
ignore
everything.
It. Silence the response.
Good. So you would have been silent. You would have ignored it and left him with whatever thoughts he had. And this system or style of you give me, I give you. We know
Nigerian factor.
Savages. That is the problem.
It's not taking us anywhere.
You know, it will not take you anywhere.
Well, I have to ask a question, Miriam. Who checks the Senate President? Who checks us when we do this? When we goof like this in the church, in the politics, even as Nigerians? Who checks us? Who's going to tell us? Who should check us?
We're checking him this morning.
You know what you said this? You know the father of the house is usually above any mistake.
Yeah.
So when they even make mistakes and the child comes and says, shut up. Talk to your elders like that. And all of those things. You cannot call out an elder for their mistakes. I grew up like that, badly trained, according to my aunties. Because if my father was talking outside in public and I didn't feel it was because Daddy, wait to. I'll go to him. I didn't even used to whisper. Growing up, I used to just shout, Daddy, no. So there was an issue of infidelity from the village that was called about. And they were sitting in council and talking about it. And he was supporting his sister. And I came and said, if it was your daughter, a man said, you see, I told you this guy is badly raised. I said, you would not see the side of the woman. It's only your brother. He did take your far, you know. And my answer said, badly raised. You don't call out an elder. So the senior president will now carry the behavior of, I can do no wrong. Thank you. Into political office. You see that? Then because the senior president is untouchable. He's the Senate president. He has had a lot of goose at the floor of the house. Did that tell him to stop talking?
But the pastor the pastor also stepped in. You know, he came to make a speech, and he now highlighted what Fubara said and, you know, tried to explain it. And he says, you know, they should all applaud the governor. And when they were doing that, the camera now zoomed on both the governor and the Senate President. In my mind, I said, I'm sure the Senate President felt it. I'm sure he got the message even from there. I hope he did.
So in answer to your question, we need to begin to check our society needs to begin to check itself, right? Because we are the only ones that can purify the debts that we have gathered by ourselves. What we are doing here is part of the check. The day I goof, you people check me. The day you goof, I check you. You know, everybody just holds. As long as we know the standards that we want to go back to, we know the right things from the wrong things. When people around you are goofing that goof, you have to check them. You do not leave any man in isolation because of fear of, okay, if I check Morayo now, she'll likely give me a query, or she'll not be my friend anymore, and then I keep quiet and allow her mess up in public. So we must begin to hold ourselves accountable now that we are saying no to all those people who are giving bass. Yes, allow yourself. No to all those people who are fighting. No to all those people who are using wrong language. No, 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 no. The society does not stand for it. What it takes to be a role model, a politician, a leader, is that you set yourself apart from the group. You are the example. Everybody's looking at you, and people can also call you to order. So we hold ourselves accountable. This is not acceptable. And like you said, I like that advice that you gave. Our politicians need to invest in a team, a capable team that will train them how to speak, how to talk, how to respond, and things they are not supposed to respond to. So before you are going out, you have a plan on how you want to show up for that day, and see how we can, you know,
somebody else says that
give better example.
Yes, they are using some unprintable words which I'm not going to use to describe our Senate president. But somebody says he lacks sympathy and empathy, and he could have done. He knows better. He should have done better. So I mean, we're going to be wrapping up. I'd like to take a few comments on social media. Go ahead.
Emmanuel says Fubara essentially said vanity upon vanity, highlighting an age-old cliche, so it leaves many wondering why Akpabio should feel triggered over a general comment about the ephemeral and fleeting nature of life, especially at such sober gathering, harbor. And for me, there's a saying in our local proverbs that the madman never knows he's mad. It's his family members who think.
I'll be shy on his behalf.
There must be one relative that is very, because it cannot just be psychophants all around him. There must be one relative who thinks, who will be able to say, it's okay.
Uncle, no be so.
You know, when everybody say, you're right, that's when I usually slow down. So I'm sure there will be one person in that family that will be saying, you're not right. There's a better way to do it.
What if that statement had no, it was not directed at him? What if in his mind, he just stood up and he made that statement? And if there's an X-ray for us to check, Fubara, for us to check his mind, we'll see that he had no connotation directed at him. But what we see, it could be that he was not in his mind when that statement came.
Let me tell you.
It was just him marveling at life and how everything is just vanity.
That was what happened.
And it hit him. So that shows where his mind has been.
That's where his mind is. Let me tell you what my conspiracy is. So the hosting governor is Fubara. And you know when the governor is hosting, everybody wants to be focused on him. But when the Senate president now comes, he's supposed to turn your attention to me. Not see me. And then Fubara then goes and makes a statement. It's like, you're enjoying this loud applause. It's me. I'm bigger than you.
Especially when we also heard
that was why he had to respond, because all the while he sat down. For me, he just kept thinking,
they don't see me.
So especially as you know, we just heard that he wasn't happy about the applause Peter Obi got in comparison to him. And also the Bible says it, when you go to a place, don't quickly go to the place of honor. You know, they will embarrass you, stay at the back, and then they will come and honor you. This is all in the Bible. What is it? Why are we not reading it? What are we reading?
Some people are asking that, so how, I said, how do we check? I said we're checking.
Yes.
But what do we require of these adults when they goof in this kind of situation? Because some have said, a public apology. So imagine the church, for example, says, you know what we did was wrong, we should have done this, or even Senate president says, you know what, actually, I shouldn't have done, I should have been more sensitive to the fact that there are children here who are mourning their parents and siblings. It was just the wrong place. So I think even in our checking, we should also be making demands of what we expect of these people to do.
So demands would be like maybe the second step. The first one is that we hope that, people showing displeasure for the way you have behaved, you'll be humble enough to hear the message and do what is right by you. Do not wait for a demand. So waiting for a demand for me already shows that you're not even in that space where you understand what you have done. Somebody has to spell it out. Sometimes you have a certain behavior and you get away with it until you come outside before you now realize, oh, so my people have just been, you know,
trying to save me this embarrassment.
But people have helped me save face all this time, and here I am out in the open. Now I see what my behavior is like. Only a humble person will understand it and make the required, make the required amendments. But when you demand, that means this person is not ready.
Yeah, but
we have to wrap up on this.
It's very common.
So let us just take a final word.
Yes, some people, if you don't make demands, they will never get it. So and that's where they are. That's where their emotion is. That's where the emotion stopped growing at that point. So we help them. So for people who can use their common sense to understand that, the atmosphere in the room have goofed and they hold themselves, congratulations to them. For those people who cannot, we will show you that this is goof. We'll spell it out for you in complete sentences and you
I
get
believe
it.
that from Wigwe's burial, I've learned and reconfirmed my conviction on not having public events of private family time. So this family have 2 parents alive who are burying 3 of their children, whether you like it or not. It should have been a private affair. All the publicity is costing the parents so many things.
I agree.
That's all we can take on this segment. That's all we can take. We're going to shop break. When we come back, we continue with the show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.